Flack math! Give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack math!
All right, lesson 23. We are going to talk about mixed numbers. We're going to subtract mixed numbers. We have a couple different ways to do this, and you can kind of decide which way works for you. All right? Let's learn it both ways, and then you can decide which one works better. Deal? All right, so let's just start with an example. Well, let's say I wanted to do this. This is not one of the two ways. This is just the pizza or the pie method. So if I have 3 1/5 pies and I ate 1 2/5 pies. Well, let's try to visualize that. So there's 1 whole pie, 2 whole pies, right? And they're in fifths, right? There's 3 whole pies. Okay, and then you've got 1/5. All right, so you got this whole bunch of pies, and then I want to subtract 1 2/5. Well, first of all, if I just try to subtract like this, that doesn't really work, right? Because 1/5 minus 2/5, normally we would have to borrow. So we're going to talk about borrowing in a second here, but let's try to do this the pie way, the pie method. Okay? So we want to get rid of one whole thing, but really we have 1/5 and we want to get rid of 2/5. Well, if you get rid of this 1/5, now you have this whole pie. So what you have to do is you have to cut that pie into fifths and get rid of another fifth. Okay? And it's got to be fifths. So you got to convert it into fifths. So this used to be 1 whole pie. It was nice and pure. There was no knife marks or anything like that. But now what I did is, since I needed a fifth, I needed to cut it into 5 even pieces. So what I did is I turned that 1 whole pie into 5/5 of a pie. What's 5/5 of a pie?
1/20.
Yeah, and I could have done it into 8 pieces, I guess. But why did I choose fifths? Because that's what fraction we're working with, okay? So I had to cut open a pie. So basically now I don't have 3 full pies anymore. I just have 2 full pies, okay? And then I've got 4/5 of a pie or whatever, but then I can subtract my whole numbers. So that's kind of the pie method. But let's try to apply that to what we used to do when we subtract. What do we do when we subtract the ones column and we don't have enough? What do we do? Grace?
You borrow.
Yeah, you borrow from the tens column. Well, in this case, there's no tens column. Well, there is over here, but you have a fraction column and then you have a ones column or a wholes column or a units column. Okay, these are the whole numbers. So instead of borrowing, so what we're doing is we're going to borrow a whole number. And we're not really borrowing it, we're just rewriting it in the fraction column. Okay, so over in the whole column it looked like that, but when we write it as a fraction, what's 1 whole as a fraction? 5/5. So what we're doing is we're adding 5/5. Okay, which is 6/5, right? And this is 2. So do you guys see how 3 1/5 is the same thing as 2 6/5? You guys see that? It's kind of like saying if I'm 6'1", 6 feet 1 inch, I could say that I'm 5 feet 13 inches. Is that wrong?
Then you sound uneducated.
Then I sound uneducated. It's not wrong, I just sound like a moron. Okay? I am 5'13". Or what time is it? It's 12:62
I'm
p.m.
4:24.
Yeah, I actually
Like 4:22.
actually I say like 12:62 and stuff like that.
It's fun, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And
Yeah.
also, when my parents like ask me, they're like, "What time is it?" And I'm like, "It's 3:64." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "It's 2:04."
And
Or
sometimes, are you-
That would be like 4:04. Yeah.
so you can say, like, sometimes we'll say, do you know how fast you were going? Yeah, I was going 100 miles per 2 hours. Okay? So that's really is 50 miles per hour. But sometimes I just like to do math, just for fun. Yes.
Do you know how fast you were going over the speed limit?
I am 323.
323, wow. Nice. So what is that, 411?
Yeah.
Nice.
That makes me feel short.
Okay, so guys, back to here. All we're doing, we're not getting rid of pi yet. Okay? All we're doing is rearranging. Instead of 3 1/5, this is 2 6/5. So see how we borrowed one whole and we added one whole to that 1/5. Because 5/5 is just one whole pi. Right? Okay, now in the past when you did something like this, 23 minus 18, what did you do? Well, you borrow from here and then you put a cute little 1 there. Well, that cute little 1 is not just a cute little 1, you're adding 10 to the 3, right? Because you borrowed from the tens column, so you added a 10 to the 3. Well, a common mistake is to put a cute little 1 there, but you're not adding. If you put a 1 there, that means you just added 10/5 to the fraction. You only want to add one whole. So how many fifths is one whole?
5.
5/5. So that's what you want. So you can't put a cute little 5 there either. Or I guess you could on this side, but that's only coincidental. Because if this was 2/5, you wouldn't put like a little 5 there. You just add 5/5 to 2/5. Okay? Let's do another example and see if you can do it with this method. Okay? All right, let's try 6, just 6, minus 1 3/4. Hunter.
Just plain old 6.
Yep, just plain old 6.
You gotta make the 6 into a 5,
Okay?
and then have 4/4. on the
Yeah,
rest.
so do you guys see how 6 is just 5 4/4? Right? Does that make sense? So you're adding 4/4 to the fraction that's already there.
Yeah, there should be 4.
But if there's no fraction already there, just put 4/4. So now we can do this math. What's 4/4 minus 3/4? 1/4. 5 minus 1?
4.
4. Boom. Let's try one more example, and then I'm going to show you another way to do this. 100%. Minus 16 2/3%. What percent am I left with? Do you know, Kiara?
74.
Nope.
Now it equals.
73 1/3.
No.
Where are you guys getting 70 from?
Oh.
Yeah, Hunter?
83 1/3.
83 1/3. Okay, let's do it the way we were just doing it. 100 minus 16 2/3. Now, can you subtract 2/3 from nothing?
Yes.
No. What do you have to do?
Math.
Math. So borrow from the whole numbers. So if I'm borrowing one whole, that's just a 99, right? So far, so good? But where do I put that whole that I just borrowed?
Just 3/3 over the 2.
Yeah, so we have to put that, we have to account for that whole number. So in the fraction column is 3/3. So far, so good? All right, now what? Subtract. What's 3/3 minus 2/3?
1/3.
1/3. And then 99 minus 16 is 83. Good, so that's percent. There's another way to do this. Do you guys know how to change a mixed number to an improper fraction? Yes.
So, I was about to tell you what that next thing was.
Yeah, do you know another way to do this?
Yes, it's changing it to an improper
Okay.
fraction and then-
All right, well, let's try our 3 examples that we did. 3 1/5 minus 1 2/5, right? So if I change this to an improper fraction, what is that? 16/5 minus 12 fifths, right? Do you see where I got that? And then you get 4 fifths.
Wait. And 12 fifths.
7 fifths.
Yep.
Sorry.
Does that count as a pre-proper?
If you would have said 7 fifths, I
Well,
would have.
I knew it was 7 fifths.
You made a mistake, but then you also made one.
Okay. No, that'll count. Okay, 9 fifths, and if you write that as a mixed number, how do you change an improper fraction to a mixed number?
Proper it.
Proper it. How do you proper it?
You
I know you know the answer, but can you explain why that's the answer? How do you do it,
You do it.
Hunter?
You subtract the numerator from the denominator.
That in that case, yeah, because it only goes in one time, and then there's 4 left over after you subtract. So 1 4/5, same thing. We didn't have to worry about borrowing at all. When you change it to an improper fraction, you never have to worry about borrowing, at least fraction borrowing. Because you guys can handle normal borrowing, right? But if you change it to improper fractions, you're going to have bigger numbers, but you never have to worry about borrowing. Okay? So let's do this one. What's 6 minus 1 3/4? Well, how do you change 6 to an improper fraction? Yes.
100.
Yeah, so if you go 6 over 1 minus, what is that, 7/4? So what's my common denominator?
4.
4. So how do you write 6 over 1 as something over 4? You guys do that? What is it, Hunter?
24.
So 24/4 minus 7/4 is 17/4, right? How many times is 4 going to 17? 4, and what's left over?
1.
So 4 and 1/4, same answer there. So this, I mean, you don't have to worry about borrowing, but it opens up some other complicated things. Like you have to find a common denominator now, and things like that. But you could have just said 6 is just 5 and 0, or 6 and 0/4, right? 6 is just 6 and 0/4. So if you do the change it to improper fraction, 4 times 6 plus 0 is 24/4. So you could do it that way. Then you don't have to worry about a common denominator. But I think if you get used to doing it this way, it'll be easier. The hardest thing to remember is what to add to that fraction. So basically, you're just adding this number to that number. 1 plus 5 is 6 fifths. See how I'm just adding this number to the 0, which was just 4/4. Okay? How's that feel? You guys feel like you can subtract mixed numbers? Yeah? So you can select either one of these methods. Both of them are perfectly fine. Okay, let's do 24.
What happened to your eraser?
I don't know. It wasn't here when I showed up today. Makes me very sad.
Eraser. This one's actually still gone. It's actually still